So, dear students, we have a free day. I have promised this to you. But I thought that there was a theme that remained incomplete. Unfortunately, I was not able to complete it during this week. Especially one aspect of it remained incomplete, which was about the fifth generation warfare. I am touching upon this theme because the intelligence agencies responded to Asad Tur's situation that they are not involved and somebody is trying to defame them, and that it's a fifth generation warfare issue where a state is maligned or any institution by giving misinformation about them and by creating confusion amongst people. So I just wanted to explain it within the context. And as I have said earlier, like we studying this topic has nothing to do with judging anybody. Like it's not our job basically. Keep in mind that as a journalist, your biggest weapon is impartiality. This is what objectivity is all about. And most of the time, journalists get into trouble or media institutions get into conflict when they don't remain impartial. Like being impartial or being partial doesn't mean that that you are not doing the right thing. Like being partial also means that you focus on one aspect and you forget about all others. Although you are dealing with facts, but you are committing or omitting to something. Like you are focusing on the government, for example, and what it's doing wrong at this time, and you are not showing what progress it is making. Then, as a media institution or as a journalist, you are not doing your job and you are not objective anymore, and this creates problem. So when we look at the whole situation, we only try to understand what's going on and which are the academic or research findings that could be useful in understanding our present situation. Like for that very reason, we had a backgrounder in theory, and now we are trying to implement this information in practice, and we are trying to the best way to use it is to understand it within the context of what's happening right now, and that's my aim. So we see a media that is in conflict with the government, and a government that is not ready to give any room to media. And here's the thing. On the one hand, I think the media is being partial, which has been the case since the last 20, 30 years, especially after not 20, 30 years, but after the launch of private television, like after 2001. And this off and on relationship between the government and the media has given a type of weak position to the media. Like before that, when we had print, print was considered to be authentic, like newspapers were authentic. And that's also one of the very important aspects of newspaper, like print journalism, or daily or weekly journalism, that it has gained its freedom from bias to a greater degree. Like television could never be unbiased. Controlling bias on television is very difficult, but people do achieve it, and people do keep certain lines which they don't cross. In Pakistan, unfortunately, this is not happening. Like free media is the right of a journalist and a people, but again, an ethical media is needed. Like a media that follows ethical guidelines, and when it criticizes a government for its failure in governance, individual lapses, or anything else, it should also has the moral courage and responsibility to laud its good efforts. I think that during the last couple of years, the media is critical, but it's not appreciative. When you appreciate something that the government does, it doesn't mean that you are being unprofessional. Your job is not just to malign the government. Like, that's not your job. Your job is to criticize a government where it does wrong and then give it credit to where it's not wrong or where it's doing good. Some media institutions have this policy, or the idea behind it is that they don't go too far when they laud a government because they think that they are fulfilling their duty and there shouldn't be any awards for doing the job that you are supposed to do. But on the other hand, it's very important to inform people, the audiences, about what the government is doing. Like, that's their right. That's why they view you or watch you or read you or listen to you. They want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, everything. And you have to make sure that people get all that information. So that's one area. Then it comes to governance. We talk about the government. Like, government should be in a continuous dialogue with the media or any social institution. Unfortunately, this government is not doing that. Like, I am seeing it, what is happening in higher education. Like, they are just sending commandments, which is not the right way to govern. Despite the fact that many of the people defend it, but this road doesn't go to democracy, basically. This is a road which is paved for fascism. So we have to understand that. Like, dialogic processes are the backbone of democracy, and dialogic processes should always be initiated by the government. Like, the most powerful institution in a country, in a modern nation state, is the government, and its job is governance. So they have to have open door policies for institutions, for individuals. They should have individuals that deal with individuals, like people in the information ministry or other people within politics or whosoever. Here we don't see that. Like, the advisors to the prime minister, the advisor to provincial ministers are going after media. They are going after higher education. The moment you disagree with them, they come after you. And then one of the most dangerous phenomena of modern day media is the social media, the new media. Then you have those troll brigades working for you. They might be instigated by somebody, or they might do it out of allegiance to a political ideology. Both of these are wrong. Even if anybody is doing it on their own will, they are really diminishing the space to have a rational dialogue, which is bad, and this is happening in Pakistan. So now we come to the fifth generation warfare, and I have shared with you a small document which is kind of an introductory document about fifth generation warfare. But I won't discuss that. But what is the basic ingredient of fifth generation warfare? What does it do? It doesn't use conventional weapons. One, it uses information, media, most of the time, as one of its instruments to create confusion amongst people. Like, people are confused whether something is right or wrong. And this is basically the outcome or an aim of fifth generation warfare. Now, the idea that somebody is involved against us in a fifth generation warfare is not easy to defend, basically. Like, social media, the way it operates, creates a confusion anyway. Like, that's part and parcel of social media. Like, the social media process. This, as they say in English, this is the nature of the beast. On social media, there are extreme views, especially when you go to Twitter, and then you see people are divided on extreme lines. That's pretty much the nature of Twitter, at least, and also most of the other social media, because of the space that you have. So you choose the strongest language and you support the causes as strongly as you could, because you have a small letter space, and you have to convey your message within that small space. Now the question is whether somebody is involved. I think all nations are doing it to others. Like, this is kind of a global phenomena, and also in a neoliberal society, there are themes for which people are for or against. Like, the latest of those themes is, I think, Malala Yousafzai's interview with Vogue. Like, people are discussing it. Like, discussing certain issues which are non-issues are also a distraction which somebody might initiate. Like, there are conspiracy theories abound about why something comes into the media at the same time something wrong is happening and people are not considering it. One of our friends in the media, he is into conspiracy theories. So when there was this recent incidents of Hamid Mir's speech and and the government's and Geo's response to it, and a baton charge and tear gassing of Peshawar University professors, and then came Malala's interview. So he said something bad is happening and somebody is trying to hide that by creating a hype of insignificant events. He might be right. I can't say it, because in the modern world, you really don't know what's going on, because the very idea of a nation state is no more viable. The boundaries are no more that's as sacred as these used to be. National ideologies and identities are not as sacred as they had to be. Although internally nations talk about the principles on which they were founded and this and that, but in practice they can't really afford going after their ideology. It's as true for the United States of America as for Pakistan, for Afghanistan, for any other part of the world. So we see a world in which, irrespective of if there is a fifth generation war going on, there is confusion. Confusion is inbuilt in a system of information and communication where social media becomes the source of most of our debates, and even mainstream media starts following social media, like news or comments or ideas or perspectives initiate on social media and then followed by the mainstream media. It's really problematic. Look at the speech Hamid Mir made was initially shared on social media, and then it had this impact on the governance structure as well as the mainstream media. So it's the mainstream media somehow is not powerful enough to have its own existence. So most of its important themes at national level and also at international level come from come from social media. Imagine the same happening to vaccination campaigns. The news that a Nobel laureate has said that all people vaccinated are going to die within 2 years. Now, Express Tribune was published a story a couple of days after that, telling that a fact check has been made, and the said Nobel laureate had never said anything about these vaccines, and this is a statement that he had never made. Now, somebody had to give this context that the Nobel laureate, first winning a Nobel Prize doesn't mean that you are all-knowing and all-powerful, omniscient. Secondly, vaccination always remains a controversial theme, because having a vaccine means that you are getting weaker germs to create antibodies. Now, if somebody is going to die in 2 years by vaccination, that person certainly is going to die after having a COVID. So there is no need to cure people out of COVID. Let them die right now instead of waiting for another 2 years. So that's not utter nonsense. But see how it moves and how it moves into the mainstream media. And then when it comes to clarifying the confusion, it's really not possible, because people always like this controversy. Like it's an inbuilt human instinct to look for things that are not good. So the point here is that that fifth generation warfare does exist and it's happening, but we can really not know where it is fifth generation warfare or a confusion that is inbuilt in the structure. So proving it is difficult, and that's basically why it is considered to be fifth generation, because you can never prove it. Like recent incidents of an Indian involvement in a European campaign of maligning Pakistan, it's not a fifth generation warfare phenomenon. It's rather more about misinformation campaigns, because fifth generation warfare is a continuous process, and it's more complex than a certain campaign. Fifth generation warfare doesn't have established offices and things like that. What they do is, most of the time, that they look at themes which could be controversial, which could create confusion or friction in a society, and they start supporting it. Like if somebody says something nasty about their own country, it will start getting more likes immediately or more retweets, and suddenly you will see, I'm a celebrity because I have said something, and now everybody is accepting it. And even if likes are generated artificially, and somebody sees this tweet has 5,000 likes, the person will like it, retweet it, and also start tweeting in the same way. So beware of that. Like all most liked themes, like what we call top trends, are not right. Some of them are just bogus. At times, I think most of them are. So that's the way it operates. Like you can't really know the source, although you can identify that here is something wrong. And it's also your individual decision to decide whether a controversy is worth following, whether a controversial statement is worth retweeting or sharing, or similar statements, making similar statements would be useful. So these are kind of individual decisions. Like our ethical compass has to be higher than it was before, and especially when we are on social media, that we should have a moral compass which is really wary of whatever we are tweeting, whatever we are reading and liking. The same is true for all other media. Now it has come to Instagram, for example, like these small 40-second, 60-second, 2-minute videos and comments that come, and you watch them, and these are very well organized. Like these are kind of very pithy, and you say, okay, this is the right thing, and let me make a similar one, or let me like it, and then it has 50,000 likes, and then somebody says, okay, this is a trend. And so this is how different small pockets of confusion are created. At times these come into being on their own, because that's the way social media operates. At other moments, these are sponsored, like not sponsored in terms of money or official sponsorships, but somehow these are supported. Somebody starts liking them, and then somebody else looks at that. Like if I have somebody in my WhatsApp or Twitter group, or even there is a hashtag that I would like to have, and I see it and I see, okay, this is a hashtag with 5,000, 10,000 likes, meaning it's worth reading. Sometimes it's not, but you read it and then you decide, you watch that video and then you decide whether it's true or not. And also, you have to keep an eye on what is the most important issue right now. And if you see something ridiculous coming, like Mufti Kavi suddenly coming up, being slapped by that woman, I forget the name. Yeah, I forgot the name. So you might have seen that video, and then you tweet it and retweet it and comment on it, and you forget that today, like, there is a price hike in basic commodities, and you see yourself and others pushing and hashtagging Mufti Kavi, forgetting about the price of basic amenities of life going high, doubling or going 50% up. So you should be knowing what is the most important issue. It's difficult, I understand. It's not easy to do this, but responsible citizenry in our modern time is basically grounded in our social media interactions and actions. So, as the psychologists always say, try to act, not to react. And that's one of the golden principles of deciding what the right thing to do is. So, thank you very much. I hope this is useful, and we can discuss it further if there is need for it. I'm sure there is need for it. Thank you.